So we were having a really deep conversation about parenting, and about halfway through, we took a break and decided we wanted to make a podcast based on our conversation. So we were talking mostly about how each of the kids has a different communication style and how we're not really meeting their needs as effectively as we could in some areas.
Yeah, it, some of the things you brought up, like, first off, I want to say I really appreciate the way and the manner in which you brought it up, because it helps me to navigate those things a little bit better and gives me outside perspective and some ideas to kind of think about before, approaching parenting my kids and things like that. I mean, we're doing the best we can, but there's always new things to try and new things to learn about it. So just the way you talk to me about it and the way that you pull me aside after they're gone, rather than pointing out there, yeah, the conversations suck. they're not the easiest conversations, but at the same time, I really appreciate it in the way that the conversations are brought up, rather than how things have been in my past and other people. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, because it definitely makes me feel like I have a partner rather than somebody who's working against me.
Mm-hmm.
And a few key things that I took from what you said, Isla speaking and communicating very verbally. Yeah, she does.
Very loud.
Matthew communicating non-verbally. He's very
physical.
reserved and quiet, and when he wants to get the message across, he is very physical and sometimes violent.
Yeah.
Destructive, breaks things, and it comes from like an emotional place.
Mm-hmm.
And then Austin, the way he communicates is very soft-spoken, very, very genuine and understanding, but also sometimes frustrated. You can see it in his eyes.
Yeah.
And bringing up the fact of like treating the kids differently than I do one of them, my daughter. That sucked. It sucked to hear, but it's a reality. And two things for me anyways. It comes from partially not wanting to have my personal PTSD and my nervous system triggered from her, screaming or crying, because it does trigger my PTSD a little bit. And so I'm trying to fix the issue that she's having so that it stops, so that I can better self-regulate to go help them later. But yeah, you brought up those points, and you're right about it. I can definitely make some efforts to try to understand a little more of what each of my kids individually needs and how they communicate, and try to make things a little more fair instead of it seeming like it's one-sided.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's so much one-sided as like, I get it where you're coming from. It's more like we have to prioritize needs over wants, right? And I feel like sometimes in communicating, you're prioritizing her wants because she's loud about her wants over their needs because they're not communicating as loudly.
Yeah.
But in the same stance, like with my son, he doesn't communicate loudly, but you hear him. And I know there's like a psychological block there with, it's not your blood, it's not your biology. And there's a level of, I need to baby him because of what he's been through, right? But the truth is, you don't have to baby him, and you don't have to baby your sons, and you also don't have to baby Isla, right? Yeah, there's a difference between how she processes information and how they process information. But just because she's loud about it, I mean, she's screaming because she doesn't want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
She's screaming because they want to play video games. We've got 2 TVs. Like, when we're putting high expectation, we also have to put high reward. And that's something that I struggle with too, with being as sick as I am sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I have very high expectations of my son, but he does sometimes get the low reward side. And so what is that reward and what does it look like? Because my son is very emotional, very touchy, very wants to be on me, close to me. And I'm not like that. And especially when I don't feel well. But he's learned that, like, if he asks and he sets a time frame for himself, mommy, I just need cuddles for a little bit, or mommy, I need long cuddles, that he's going to get exactly what that is, because he's doing exactly what he's meant to be doing. But I would not ask him to do something I could not demonstrate, because that's hypocrisy.
Yes.
But I did for a long time, and I had to unlearn it, and I had to read books, and I had to go to parenting classes that I thought were dumb. I wasn't forced to go to them, but I chose to go to them. I paid for them out of my own pocket because I wanted to do better. I wanted to be better, and I wanted him to see another way. So I did, right? And I'm not saying go to parenting classes, this, that, whatever. Like, they might help, they might not, right? But I am saying, like, hey, we've got 4 kids in one house, and they all communicate differently. They all communicate in their own ways. So how are we going to respect them the way we respect each other?
Yeah.
Because the truth is, if we don't respect them the way that we respect each other, they grow up and they don't know what that looks like.
Yeah. That's exactly, you know, just what I went through as a kid. Like, I know we talked about it a little bit before, but I didn't have, growing up, a example of a good parent, like a father figure. I didn't grow up with that at all.
Yeah.
My biological father, the time I did spend with him, from the time I was like 13 up until I was 16 and got kicked out of the house and had to go be homeless for 3 years, living out of the back of my truck. My experience with him as a father is he was really forwardly shut down, made it very apparent he didn't want any type of real relationship with me. Sure, he took me to, my wrestling meets, my boxing meets and stuff like that. But when it comes down to like the actual needs that I had, as far as like spending quality time with him and getting to know him and building a relationship with him, he was just completely emotionally unavailable, because he was either drunk, or he was too tired, or wanted to go out and party and go do some of the stuff he was doing, which is not really some of the best things. So I was left with my dad after, leaving my stepdad's house and leaving my mom's care, dealing with the emotional abuse and the example of emotional disconnect and just someone not being available, right? Sure, my dad provided, financial support and stuff like that, but you can provide all the financial support you need if you're not providing the mental and emotional and relationship side. If you're not there making an effort for that, there is no relationship. So that's what I had experience with my actual bio father. And then my stepdad, Ken, my mom, she did the best she could for me and my 6 sisters, but she was working 2 full-time jobs. So oftentimes it was me and my sisters left to our own devices at home. So we didn't really have much guidance at home, basically. I was a latchkey kid, so after school I'd stay at latchkey until my mom could finally come pick me up, or someone else could come pick me up and take me home before my mom got home. And she'd be gone that much. And oftentimes, the only siblings that I had there was my one sister, my half sister, and then my adopted sister. They were the only ones really there for most of my childhood. The older sisters were, by the time I had hit 7, were already out of the house.
Yeah.
So not having an example of how to communicate, not having an example of how to treat people, not having an example of how to do things. I had to learn all that stuff on my own, and it's taken years and years and years, and lots of therapy too, because obviously I needed it. But the only way I was able to really figure out the type of father I want to be and the type of partner I want to be is by seeing a podcast or seeing a video commentary or reading a book about a family and struggles they went through and the things that they did to change and the work that they did for themselves and how they changed and fixed their relationship. I took the examples of the good aspects of those things, and I'm like, okay, even though I may not right now be that person, be able to do that, I can try and make that effort happen until I eventually started to do those things without being prompted to, without forcing myself to. I just do them now. So it, being able to raise.
Do you think like you hold on to the guilt of it and you're trying to overcompensate so that you're not showing the traits that you're afraid of or were afraid of in a kid? And do you think that that's why it comes out worse when it comes out?
Oh yeah, I would definitely say that is.
So
that is definitely a big factor.
Have you told your kids that you're afraid to hurt them? Have you expressed to them why you're afraid to hurt them?
I have with the older child. With Austin, my 13-year-old.
I think you baby them. I'm being honest here. I think you baby them. And it's not because... Listen, a lot of people disagree with how I raised my son, but my son knows everything going on. He knows why we're moving, where we're going, what's going on, how I feel in a moment. And that came with the 5 years. You might not make it to 30. You'll be lucky if you make it to 30. Changes your perspective fast. I want my son to know how much I loved him and why I do what I do, right? But why wait until there's an expiration date? Because Isla can understand. You explain to her why something is the way it is. Hey, I'm really scared that this world is a really cruel place. And I don't want you to be hurt. So I'm feeling fear. How are you feeling about that? Is an interesting thing because she looks at you as her hero, right? And heroes don't get scared in the movies. But the truth is, what is bravery?
Overcoming your fears.
Looking fear in the face and doing it anyway. Right? If that's what bravery is, how are you going to be brave if you never tell her that you're scared? If you never tell her, hey, I'm overstimulated right now. You're yelling and you're screaming. And what that does to my brain is it makes my brain shut down. And when my brain shuts down, I get loud. And loud scares you. I'm afraid I'm going to scare you. Same with Matthew, honestly. He's 10. He can understand things. No, he's not the oldest kid, but he's the middle kid. And he definitely has middle kid syndrome. Where he feels like he's overlooked. Why do you think I make such an effort? Because I don't want him to feel overlooked. I don't know if you caught it last night. I put Isla to bed. When I got down, I looked over at him and I said, you good or you want me to tuck you in too? And he laughed at me. Right? Like, he's 10. He don't really want to be tucked in and babied, but he also feels, you can see it when you're talking to Austin. He's like, well, why can't I be involved? The truth is he could be. In a lot of those conversations, he could be involved. It's a hard conversation, and it's hard to look at your youngest son growing up and not continue to treat him like a baby. But if you treat him like a baby his whole life, he grows into a man-child. At some point, you got to let go and realize this world is fucking cruel. This world fucking sucks.
Not that it's an excuse, but some of the reasons why I don't include Matthew in some of those conversations that I do Austin is because Matthew has a tendency to, anything said to him, he goes and runs and tells his mom. He likes to
That's fine.
Tattle on things. And not that I'm saying anything inappropriate to my kids or anything, but some of the conversations are kind of harder subjects when they ask me questions like that. Like, for instance, today's conversation.
Well, today's conversation, was brought up by the kid, and I get that. But a lot of those conversations, right, are real world things. And how can you expect a child to think critically? Of course he's going to run to his mom. Your job when he runs to his mom is to ask her, do you think I said that maliciously? Right? Ask him if it was malicious or if it was introspective. And what that does is it challenges her. It makes her critically think. Because she's reactionary. So the minute you're like, no, he asked a question, I answered it, and I gave him a real answer, he's going to be a man in 8 years. In 8 years, he's going to be on his own. That'll stop that conversation in its tracks. Do you want him to grow up knowing nothing about the world? That sounds bad, right? And that's a question you can ask. Do you want him to grow up and know nothing of the world? My child is 6. Yeah. That means that in 12 years, he's going to be walking into the world, right? And I want him to walk into the world with emotional maturity, healing, therapy, a game plan, not feeling not feeling like he's at a disadvantage, knowing that he's welcome in my home anytime with the relationship he wants to have with me. Not the relationship I want to have with him, the relationship he wants to have with me. And I want the same thing for his dad. Because for me, it's not about what I want in my kid. It's about I did all of this so that he could reach far greater than I can. Yeah. Any parent restricting their kids doesn't want them to reach greater heights than us. We can't baby them in that. So he's going to run to his mom, and she's probably going to be upset. Yeah. So how are you going to handle that? Because he'll probably call you. He has his own phone. Dad, I told mom, and now she's mad. Well, how do you feel about it? Yeah. And the key is to not be like, oh, your mom's overreacting. Oh, this and that. No, the key is, well, how do you feel about that? Yeah. Did you trust your mom with some information and now she's punishing you for that information? Did you trust your mom with information? Did that go the way you thought? Yeah. It's not leading him. Did that go how you wanted it to? Yeah. Right? At the end of the day, he's going to decide who he trusts and who he doesn't.
Well, it's like the conversation we had this yesterday and today with what he said,
That breaks my heart so much.
He told Isla,
I don't think I'm dad's real son.
I don't think I'm dad's real son, and that's why he's mean to me, right? And, I'm not mean to him. I try to parent him the best I can, and because he is a little more stubborn and a little more physical with his emotions, sometimes he has outbursts, and I have to be a little more authoritative towards him, and it sucks because I don't want to be, but sometimes I have to, and it's just kind of the kid he is.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Who's that sound like? Who does that sound like? You're parenting a younger version of yourself. And what you're doing when you authoritarian him is you're doing exactly what happened to you. You're repeating a cycle.
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying not to do.
I know. And I see it. I do. But I think it also triggers you, and you're not willing to admit that seeing yourself in a kid triggers you.
No, I fully admit that it triggers me, and that's why I'm so hard on myself about it, because, in the moment, I'm trying to...
Well, I'm talking in the moment. It's hard to admit you're triggered by yourself. Yeah. Because here's the fucking thing. My kid is a mini-me. I'd be looking in a mirror like, I did this work already. I did it. I already did this, I'm looking in that mirror, looking at myself, and I'm like, okay, wait, what did I need? Well, because the truth is, as much as I've tried to break the cycle, my kid has trauma from me separating from his dad. Yeah. My kid has trauma from the next relationship I was in was 5 years long. He's 6. My kid has trauma because he lost someone he considered family. Toxic, yeah. Hurt him, yeah. He's still considered that family.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing.
So as much as I want to say I broke a cycle, the truth is he's going to have to break that cycle. And it sucks, but I'm giving him the tools to do so. Right? We have to give our kids the tools. And when we're not admitting where we're failing, like I'm talking about my relationship with my kid, and I failed so much. Oh, yeah. There have been times where I don't even recognize myself in the mirror. Like I committed to a certain type of parenting, a certain type of communication, and I just lost my ever-loving shit on him.
Yep.
Fuck. And then it's, what do you do with that? Do you sit there and go, well, he'll get over it?
No.
Or do you sit with him and go, that was so unfair. I fucked up, dude. Yep. And my kid will tell me now, because I've done it enough, to where he'll go, Mom, stop. When you yell, it scares me. Yep. Okay. I'm going to go take a mommy timeout. Mommy's going to go take a timeout because no one deserves to be yelled at. But that tool has turned into him going, I'm really angry. I'm going to go put myself in timeout.
Yep.
And he does, whether that's under the bed, whether that's in his bed, whatever that is. He goes, he isolates. And it's usually 10-ish minutes. Then he comes out and he's like, I'm really sad and I'm scared. Okay, how can I support you?
Yeah.
But he learned that from me taking accountability and saying, I need a mommy timeout. Our kids are watching. What we say doesn't fucking matter. What we do matters.
It's, you know, the one thing I told myself growing up is the abuses I went through, I would do my damnedest not to perpetrate those things on my own kids if I had them.
Same.
And, you know, no parent's perfect. You know, there's no manual for this shit. It's not.
And we don't know what we don't know until we know it.
Yeah. And, you know, sometimes we catch ourselves in the middle of a triggered behavior that is exactly like a conversation that we had with our parent that was abusive to us, like similar type of manneristic things that we're saying, you know. And I will say one cycle that I'm very happy that I broke with my kids is the physical abuse side. And
100%.
and the emotional abuse side. I feel like I've done a really good job of catching myself in those moments where I feel like I want to scream in their face because they're so frustrating that I'm like, I can't do this right now. You need to sit there and be quiet and leave me alone. I'm going to go outside for 20 minutes and come back because I need that time.
Listen, the reason I say I'm going in a mommy timeout is because that way he understands the verbiage. A timeout is exactly that. It's not a punishment. It's not a consequence. A timeout is a break. It's breathing room.
Yeah.
When he would get really, 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 really angry, I would look at him and I'd be like, are you angry like a dragon? Yes.
Roar.
And then we would do dragon breathing, which is deep breaths together. Because co-regulation is how they learn to self-regulate.
Oh, the regulation thing too. It's like frustrating, very frustrating. When you're trying to instill in your child both. It's okay to co-regulate when it's necessary, and it's also important to self-regulate when it's necessary.
But how are they going to do that if you're not showing them?
Right.
Which is why it's skills together first. She hasn't been given skills.
Yeah.
And because I know which kid you're talking about.
Yes.
She hasn't been given skills to self-regulate. So how do you give a skill to self-regulate? You do it with them. Dragon breathing is a really good idea. Mm-hmm. It's you and them together breathing. When you're upset, you can do this. It'll help reset.
Those are those things as a parent that I didn't see as a kid myself. So, like,
hey, listen, I learned it on YouTube. I learned it on YouTube. I didn't see it either. I didn't get co-regulation either. So I get that. But I had to learn.
And, you know, I still struggle with my own, you know, I've dealt with a lot of my own toxic masculinity throughout the years. And where's this toxicity? I need it. I want to be toxic. No, I'm just kidding. So, like, hearing about these gentle parenting techniques and hearing about these ideas and these podcasts and these YouTube channels and videos and all this.
Is it gentle parenting or is it just parenting?
Realizing what it is after, you know, really understanding it more from, you know, researching it for a while and actually trying to practice some of it, it's just parenting, period. Yeah. But, you know, me 5-6 years ago, like, reading about gentle parenting, my first thought would be a very toxic, masculine, toxic
well,
thought.
the thought that comes up when I do conversations about this is gentle parenting is for gentle children.
Yeah.
No, gentle parenting works on any child, and here's why. Gentle parenting is not permissive parenting. What's being put out as gentle parenting is called permissive parenting. And that's what we're talking about with the reward system, right? Yeah. There's permissive parenting, and that is low expectation with high reward. Meaning this kid is going all over the place and they still getting the piece of candy.
Yeah.
This kid is doing all these things, they still getting this reward. Yeah. It's not being taken away because, oh, they might cry. Yeah. No. That is permissive parenting. And then on the other side of it, you have authoritarian parenting. And authoritarian parenting is high expectation with low reward. You're just expected, do what you're going to do, and I'm not going to acknowledge that you did it.
Yeah.
But then you have that middle ground, and it's authoritative parenting.
Yeah.
And that's where gentle parenting falls. It is high expectation with equally high reward. But what is that reward? That's going to change person to person.
Yep.
Kid to kid, parent to parent. For my kid, that's being close to me, spending time with me. His favorite show is his favorite show because it's my favorite show. It's my safe show. Like, I watched that my entire pregnancy. I then watched it throughout his early childhood. He now falls asleep to it. But the reason why his favorite show is because mommy watches this with me. Mommy loves this show. So now I'm going to love this show so we can do this together. Is it really his favorite? Now, yes. Was it always his favorite? Probably not. Guys, my son's favorite show is NCIS, the original one with Gibbs, okay? Like, he calls it his sleepy time show, but he knows, like, this is how I feel close to mommy. Mommy is close. We're watching a show mommy likes. That's a high reward for him. He's spending mass amounts of time with me.
Doing stuff with
doing things that I like and he likes.
Like,
at the same time, I'm not handing him a Lego set and saying, figure it out. I'm sitting there with him and we're doing it piece by piece together.
Right.
High expectation, he's doing it. High reward with mom.
It's like my kid's favorite show is Demon Slayer. He absolutely is obsessed with that show. And it's a show that I think one of the reasons why he's so obsessed with it is because me and my really good friend Dustin, when Dustin was living with me after my ex left, when the boys would come over, even if I had Isla, we would watch Demon Slayer together because it was
that's my son in Spy Family, because that's the show he watches with his dad and his sisters, so it makes sense.
You know, there's obviously some scenes in there that are pretty graphically gory and a little bit of, you know, a little bit more mature content in there for some things, but it's a show that we all enjoy. They love the characters, they love the storyline, and they're excited to see it. So when the new seasons come out, we binge watch it together, and that's me and the kids getting time to actually spend a lot of time together, nearby each other, close proximity.
Yeah.
Joking about it, talking about it, you know. We watch a really epic scene that's something that just happened, and we pause it and we'll talk about it.
Yes.
And the kids, they'll get out and start reenacting it and laughing about it and trying to play it out like they're the characters, and they get really excited about it. So that for me is really awesome to be able to bond with them in that way, in that light. It's
well, a lot of your kids have love languages of time and touch.
Yeah.
Austin loves physical touch and time.
Yeah.
And
well,
so kind of. He likes time, but I've also noticed, like, you'll buy the other kids stuff. That's why I got him the thing. Yeah. Because I notice you will, like, buy them stuff because you know your mom or his mom are you gonna, you know, it's gonna get passed down in their families. So you're just like, okay, well, he doesn't need more things, right? Yeah. But I seen this thing and I was like, Austin.
Yeah.
So I grabbed it for him, right? I was like, this is on flash sale. I'm grabbing it. Like, this is going right now. Immediately, this is going to Austin, right? Yeah. And his response is just, that's so dope. Wait, it's for me, like, only me. Yeah. What? Like, you can grow out of it and pass it on if you want to, or not. Just fucking frame it. For all I care, it's yours, right? At the end of the day, I think gifts that are specifically for him, it's not the gift itself. It's that someone specifically thought about him and took time to do something he would like. Because a lot of time is spent watching his brother, watching, even not here. He's watching his brothers a lot. He opened up about that. He's babysitting his younger brothers, and then here he's babysitting his younger brother's younger sister a lot. Yeah. And I'm over here like, no, Austin, I got it. Yeah. It's not to undermine you. It's because he's also a kid. Yeah. And he's not an unpaid babysitter.
No, he's not. I tried to, like, in the past, I've tried to remind him that you're a kid and it's okay to say no. It's okay to be a kid, but also you're at the age where you're at, you know, you're 13 now going on 14. You can help out with some of the chores. And if we cook dinner and I cooked you breakfast, or
I've noticed he's been doing that without being asked lately.
which I'm really proud of him for, because he's seen the example that I set and going after him, and he's like, oh. And this is what I'm talking about, like the examples that I grew up with. I didn't have these examples, so I had to learn them on my own. And the fact that I can show my kids that and lead them into that so that they don't have to have the struggles I had in relationships and growing up as a person. Trust me, my life for the past, since I was 16 up until I was like 34, my life, I made myself miserable because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I didn't know how to be an adult to be an adult. I knew how to be an adult to get by because I'm panicking and I have to do a bunch of shit that needed to be done. But I wasn't doing it because, hey, I'm happy and I'm enjoying doing this stuff. And now I'm at a place of I'm content doing these things. Not because someone's asking me to, or not because, holy shit, there's this glooming pile of shit that needs done and I gotta panic and do it. It's like, it needs done. I'm going to do it. When it's done, I'm going to see that work and be like, damn, that didn't take as long and it's done and I feel better now. Cool. So doing that type of stuff and showing my kids that, it's really kind of special to see them take after that and try to mimic the behavior. It's that is breaking those cycles and instilling those good positive behaviors in my
Have
kids.
you noticed Isla watching and copying with me?
I like it.
It's nice because it's like, I never, like, yeah, she's very shy. She's loud when she wants something, but actually communicating her emotions, that is also just like Matthew. It comes out as physical violence.
Yes.
Like,
yes, it does.
It really does. But the thing that I've noticed with her is like, she'll watch how we talk when we're disagreeing, and it's like she almost flinches. Yeah. But then she sees us talking and she stays. And you'll notice her hovering on the side, watching, like waiting for it to explode, and then it doesn't. Yeah. And it's almost watching her take a deep breath. And then I noticed her with Matthew this week, because a lot of times it's me, you, Gabe, and her, and then the boys are with her. Yeah. But this week, seeing her with the boys, she's actually treating Matthew the way she's learned to treat Gabe. Yeah. She's being gentler with him. She's not just attacking him. She's communicating, stop, I don't like that. Yeah. And he's listening because he's watching you be listened to. He's not in fight or flight. She's not in fight or flight. Austin's not in fight or flight. Gabe's not in fight or flight. So what happens when the kids come out of fight or flight?
They can flourish, they can grow, they can express themselves, they can feel safe.
And we're watching it happen at an expedited rate because they've never felt safe to this degree. The minute they started feeling safe, things started changing. Yeah. If you noticed, Austin stopped hiding in the room to play video games. He's like, can I play out here? He wants to be out here. Yeah. Matthews, he hasn't asked to play the VR in over a week.
I know.
He's been stuck to Isla like glue.
The reason why I have an issue with the VR is because Matthew gets so obsessed.
Hyperfixated.
Like,
that's a hyperfixation. That's an ADHD hyperfixation.
Super.
It's annoying.
Austin gets that way too. He gets hyperfixated on something and then doesn't hear anything that's going on. And you have to literally like go and physically put your hand on him and be like, hey, I need you to listen. And he's like, huh? Oh, dude, I've been saying your name for 25 minutes, like 30 times. You didn't hear me? No.
Not at all.
So,
and I do that too. That's like one of those things where I'm like, if you were talking to me, I just registered that you're talking to me. Roll that back.
This is a household full of ADHD kids. Adult kids too. that are ADHD. Yeah. Austin's mildly autistic plus ADHD. Matthew is severe ADHD.
Isla is ADHD.
ADHD introvert.
Gabe's autism, probably.
Gabe's autistic on the spectrum with probably some ADHD. Yep. I am PTSD, TBI, probably ADHD, and most likely probably on the borderline spectrum as well. So it's a whole house of fuckery, and it's fun.
It's a lot. But the thing is, right, when we come to understand ourselves, because my actual diagnosis is DID. I just have certain traits of other things. But I know, it's so cute. But the thing I've noticed is the more we regulate ourselves and we're showing that we're regulating, the more they're learning. They're watching, they're learning. Because, like, Matthew was pushing my buttons, and I looked at him and I said, "Are you wanting to see how far you can push me?" And he goes, "Not really." I said, "Are you doing it on purpose to irritate me?" He goes, "A little." I said, "You succeeded. I'm irritated. What do you want?" Like, that was my exact response. And he just looks at me and he goes, "Oh." I was like, "Did you think I was going to get mad at you?" He goes, "Kinda." I said, "Do you want to know if I was going to?" He goes, "Yeah." This is me mad.
Yeah.
He goes, "Oh, well, shit." Like,
fuck, that didn't work.
That didn't work. But that's how
He's used to
I've chosen to be. That's not my reactions can be like that, but I've chosen to not be that way. I did that in therapy.
Matthew and Austin were very used to seeing like verbally explosive like anger.
Yep.
Scenarios, toxic relationships. Me and the boys' mother had a very very toxic relationship. I obviously had my own things to play in that, my own faults in it. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not. I wasn't perfect. There were things that I did that were utterly despicable when I look at them, and utterly disgraceful when I look at them as a man, going, "Holy fuck, can't believe I did that." But there was also situations in the relationship where you have somebody who has PTSD, you have somebody who has brain damage and ADHD, and a hard time expressing their emotions and communicating with somebody who knows that you have these things and uses it as a tool to manipulate and gaslight the shit out of somebody till they snap, and then turn around and go, see, that person's crazy, that person's a monster. So my kids are used to seeing mommy be really verbally and emotionally vicious and manipulative towards me, and then me finally can't have enough, like, hey, I can't have this conversation anymore. I'm at my point.
Which is why they hold their breath every time I say, "Hey, can we talk about this later?" Because they think it's going to turn into a screaming match.
And when we do talk about it later, even if they're in earshot, they're seeing
they like literally their eyes get big.
Yeah.
Because it's like, hey, that conversation, they hear it and they're like, but even then, like, I pulled you aside and I was like, hey, this has to stop.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't going to let you continue to verbally go at them.
Yeah.
Right. And the way I did it is I waited for you to be done. And then I pulled you aside and I was like, hey, you're bleeding on people who didn't cut you.
Yeah.
And that's all I had to say.
Yep.
But all three of them were in the doorway, like, and they seen it and you went, fuck, I need to take time. And you walked out.
Yep. And
they all came in. Are you okay? Yeah, your dad's just going to take a break. He'll come back in.
Yep.
Also, y'all need to do what your dad asked you to do. You get started cleaning.
Yeah.
Come on now. I'll get up. I'll help you. But we got to start because, you know, a lot of this is y'all not listening, and he's repeating himself, and he's getting real frustrated, and he's not good with dealing with frustration. Okay, let's go get started.
Yep.
That's why when you came back, I was sitting in there with him. It wasn't because I was helping them physically. It's, hey, I'm body doubling. Let's start small. What can we get off the floor now? What can we do next?
Yeah.
And you came back in and it was set. It was going. Yeah.
One thing I've noticed that Matthew has done, just because of things that he's been told and the way he feels, that, you know, he slowly tells me things off to the sly. Like a couple months before you and I started dating, he was having an issue, and he told Isla and Austin, and I heard it. He's in his bed, he's angry, he's pouting, and he punches the freaking wall, and he just yells, "I hate myself. Everyone hates me. I would just want to die." And I stopped immediately. And yeah, before that,
my heart.
Yeah, I was in the process of, before that, hey, I need you to pick up your clothes. These are the rules in the house. When you first wake up in the morning, put your nighttime clothes in the laundry basket, get dressed, go take a shower, brush your teeth, do whatever you got to do, but get yourself ready for the day. Make your bed, and before you start playing, then, you know, clean your space up and tidy it up a little bit, and you'll feel better and not have to worry about looking at a bed that's a disaster piece. So you're not stressed out, like, hey, my space is cluttered and messy. Clean it up when you first wake up. So I was just in the middle of helping Isla make her bed, helping Austin make his bed, helping them pick stuff up and getting them into stuff. And I was getting ready to go help Matthew. And Matthews looks at me and he goes, this is bullshit. He gets up and walks in the living room and turns the TV on. And starts watching TV. And I come out here and say, hey, what the hell did I just tell you? I said, if you wait 5 minutes, I will help you make your bed, but you can start the process of pulling the dirty sheets off because they need to be washed, and get your clean sheets and blankets out so I can help you make your bed. I'm not going to make
love him so much. My response is just, I love him so much because he was feeling so left out.
Yeah.
I get the emotion. I know. I felt that before. And like, so, I'm about to cry for him because I know that wasn't your intention, but like, it happens.
Yeah.
And I've pointed it out to you that it's happening, but it happens where he just feels so.
And I need that.
He woke up
too.
Like, you took the Austin to go get Isla that day. He woke up and he's like, "Where's my dad?" And I was like,
"No, he didn't say where's my dad. He said, where the fuck's my dad?"
Yeah, he said, "Where the fuck is dad?" And I was like, "He went to go get your sister." "Well, where's my brother?" "He went with your dad." "They don't wake me up?" "No, it's just you and me, buddy." He goes, "Fuck." And I said, "We're gonna do cursing today?" And he like looks at me funny, and I said, "Oh, listen, as long as you're not using it to hurt other people, say whatever you want. You want to go watch TV? Let's go fucking watch TV." And he just looks at me. He goes, "Okay, this is fucking dope." And like, it makes it to where he's not going to get in trouble for expressing himself.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of why I don't regulate words. Words are just words.
Yeah.
But if you're using those words to hurt somebody, I can hurt your feelings without ever cursing at you. Like, I can look at you and be like, you are a shit person. You suck. You don't understand what you're doing. You are damaging the people around you, and you need to figure it out. Yeah. And that is going to hurt you more than if I look at you and go, you're a fucking dick.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I know I'm a dick.
But you get what I'm saying, right? And I'm teaching him the same thing. I'm teaching my son the same thing. Words are just words. As long as you're not using them to hurt somebody else. Yeah. If you're getting your point across, cool. Like, this dog right here, she'd be sleeping right now. But when she's not sleeping, she's insane. All right? She's insane. And she jumps on the kids, right? My son will look at her and say, "Get the fuck off me." And she will. Yeah. Isla's like, "No, Ladybird, stop." And she jumps more because now it's a squeaky thing that she can get.
Yep.
Which is why I'm telling Isla, curse at her. Tell her to get the fuck off you. Yep. And say it with your full chest. And she goes, "Okay." So I'm like, don't yell at her for that, because I taught her that. Yeah. And the reason I'm teaching her that is you need your voice. If you can't stand up to a dog, how are you going to stand up to a man that has you pinned down?
Right.
Because as much as she can fight her brother,
yeah.
What happens when it's someone she's chosen to care about and she has the internal conflict of, but I love him though.
Yeah.
Because you can love the dog and tell the dog to get the fuck off you.
Yeah.
And you can love your first boyfriend and go through a serious situation and say, "Get the fuck off me."
Yep.
And you got to have that chest behind it or they're not going to stop.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's the follow through that she's been practicing on her brother's chin.
This kid, holy crap. So I've taught my kids, first off, the younger son, Matthew, he's been in Taekwondo, so he knows how to throw a punch, he knows how to kick, he knows how to do some...
Does he? You have to reteach him every day.
I have to reteach him stuff. He gets the basic grasp.
Yeah.
But he's very, because he's non-verbal in his communication, with his style of communicating, he's very physical. He spent a lot of time taking his frustration out on Isla with his jealousy and molly-whapping her in the side of the head with a toy, kicking her legs out from underneath her when she's walking by, or throat chopping her, doing messed up things like that when she's in the middle of crying, and then turn around, "Dad, Isla's crying and I don't know. I know exactly why she's crying. I heard you thwack her. I heard you tell her you were going to punch her in the throat." And then next thing you know, I hear a slap and I see it, and she's on the ground crying. "He hit me." So, yeah. So she's learned how to throw a punch, and I've also worked with her on how to do it properly because I want to make sure she can defend herself if she has to. And this kid, first off, my kids come out here and they're play fighting with me. They're play fighting. Isla's standing there. She's excited. She's laughing. She's giggling. She's slapping. Matthew's over here punching me in the chest and jabbing at my face, and I'm blocking all his moves. And she just looks at me and smiles with a big old shit and grin and hauls off and molly-whaps me as hard as she can with a squared up freaking fist and a perfect punch. mean ass right hook right into my jaw, and my ears ring. So she knows how to throw a punch. Her son, Gabe, who's going to be my stepson here soon, he's talking to Isla about something. They're having a little bit of a disagreement about a toy or playing something, and she tells him, no, get off of me, I don't want to play with you. And he didn't listen and didn't want to stop, and so she just goes whap, and Molly whaps him right in the freaking jaw, like rang his bell to where he was sitting on the floor and crying, and then finally comes crawling out here and goes, she hit me. And poor kid. And she's like, I'm like, did you hit him? She's like, yeah, I punched him in the jaw.
And here's the thing about my kid, right? My kid is very gentle. He is a gentle child. But just from the interactions with non-gentle children, because I would say that Isla is not a gentle child.
No.
She's not. Matthew is not a gentle child. You know who is? Austin is. Austin is a gentle child. Gabe is a gentle child. They are very similar.
Yeah.
And Austin gets along really well with Gabe, which is awesome. Matthew also gets along with Gabe because Gabe is rough and tumble, but he's gentle about it. He doesn't want people to get hurt. Yeah. He doesn't want people to actually be in pain. He's like, listen, I will pull the sword out of the stone and it will be epic, but I will hand you the sword. Like that is how my son is.
Well, they were playing up at your mom's house out in the backyard, and they're like, we're gonna play Ninja Turtles, and they're doing karate chops and punches and kicks and stuff at each other, and Gabe's keeping his distance to make sure that he's not actually hitting Matthew. And Matthew goes, oh yeah, check this out, and goes to kick his legs out from underneath him. I was like, hey. And he stops mid kick and just connects with the back of Gabe's ankle, and then stops and looks at me. He goes, what? Yes. I was like, he's like, what? I said, he's not your older brother. He's not me, and he's not your sister, where you can play rough like that with him. You can play, but let's remember to keep our space from each other while we're playing that way, because
he's pulling it. The thing with Gabe is he's pulling his punches.
Yeah.
He is doing it, and he's like me. And I've told you this before. When he blacks out, he's just like me. We don't stop until the other person's gone.
Yeah.
And so I've taught him, I was like, do you remember when you attack? And he said, no, it's all black. And I said, okay, yeah, so we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
We're not going to play fight. And that was when he was 2 years old. He goes, Mommy, everything went black, and it was just go, go, go. Yeah. And I looked at him and I was like, yeah, and you threw a knife at your sister. Like, no. At 2 years old, he picked up a butcher knife and chucked it at his sister, and it stuck in her neck. Absolutely not.
Not okay.
Absolutely not. So, and I asked him, do you remember what you did? And he goes, no, Sissy annoyed me, and then black. Okay, so never again. Yep. Never again. We are not going to play this way. We are going to learn how to handle our emotions. And like I said, I've made mistakes, and I've been intentional with it. Now, was there a scar from it? No. Did it cut it open? No. It didn't. It just, but scary, terrifying. A 2-year-old almost took out a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
No. So that got me to thinking, okay, well, if he's able to do damage at 2 years old, we have to do something different. Does he know how to fight? Yes, absolutely. Does he know how to hurt people? Yes. But I have taught him, when you are playing, you make light contact, if any. So he will pull ahead. Like, he'll come up to me and he'll be like, Mom, and he won't touch me. Yeah. But the minute it's like, hey, let's actually go. Okay, now he's connecting. He's hitting as hard as I do. He could hit as hard as Isla, but he doesn't want to. Yeah. Because Isla's younger and he cares about her.
Yeah.
And he wants to protect her. I have seen him use his voice, and I have seen him use his fists. His dad, his dad decided to try and square up on me when he was 3. Yeah. And he was inside of the car. He wasn't buckled in, but he was in the car. And he gets out of the car, opens the door, jumps out, and he puts his hand on. He says, stop. You're scaring my mommy. And my ex stops. And then he balls up his fist and he just stands there. And he goes, get in the car, Betty. Mom and I will have a conversation about this later. The conversation was had, but I've seen him go into defense. And he views Isla the same way.
Yeah.
I'm going to protect you. That's my job. And that's okay. That can be how she is mad at you. You moved the dog. And that's okay. He can view that. But I know that when it came down to it, he would. There was a kid that like was screaming and didn't want to go, and he kicked the mom in the shins and said, "Don't take her. She's screaming. Respect her body." Like, you know, so we definitely have taught him. It's just not the same way you might.
Yeah. Just checking on the message from Julia. And I want you guys to understand something. Like, if you actually pay attention to facial expression, body language, stuff like that, these conversations are not scripted. This is a legit conversation that we're having with each other right now for this podcast. And this is not at times a very easy conversation to have. There's things in it that, you know, coming to realization of things of where I could do better and need to improve. And, you know, that's what these things are about, is having the conversation so we can improve and do better and try things a different way to figure things out. And it's
well,
it's a
that's why
real,
it's I got you safe.
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, how can anyone know how to be safe if they don't feel safe?
right.
So yeah, babe, I got you safe. It's okay. It's okay to be triggered. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to have emotion.
Yeah.
What are we going to do with that?
Learn from it and do better.
Yeah, but other people need that too,
Yeah,
right?
do.
So yeah, I got you safe.
This
babe,
this brings me to one thing I want to say. If you are a man and you have not gotten therapy, so you have tools to be a good parent, to be a good partner, get yourself evaluated, get yourself looked at, go talk to a counselor, go talk to a psychiatrist, and find out what it is that you have to work on and work on yourself. Because you're gonna regret it. You're gonna have things that you do with your kids, you're gonna have things that you do with your partner that you're going to regret. You're gonna have those moments, and yeah, it's okay to have those moments of contention in a relationship, but how you view those things in contention in a relationship, how you react to them, is going to be the defining moments in that relationship, whether you're going to have a successful relationship and you're going to learn from those things, or you're going to have lots of animosity and regret within that relationship. So go and get counseling, please, for yourself. There's nothing unmanly or unmasculine about getting help at all. In fact, anybody who tells you that it's unmanly, they're very sorely lacking in mental maturity, and they themselves are probably some of the most damaged people out there, and they severely need help, and they don't know how to ask for it because they're afraid to. So don't be afraid to get out there and ask for help, because counseling is for everybody. And yeah, I promise you, okay, I have been through some shit in my life, and I buried my shit in my life for years, and I didn't get counseling for years. And when I finally admitted to myself that it is perfectly okay for a man to get counseling and for me to go out there and ask for help and get some support and get some tools, guess what? My life changed for the better. The things that I was holding on to, the anger, the frustration, the communication style within the relationship, the people that I'm friends with, the relationships I was having, I no longer have that toxicity in my life. I no longer have that anger. I no longer have that regret and that frustration. Are there things in this conversation that we're having that are difficult to hear? Absolutely. But notice how my response to it isn't a knee-jerk reaction. It's actually listening and hearing what she's saying and taking it in and thinking about it and deconstructing it, so that I can figure out what it is that I need to work on so I can be the best version of myself for me and for my kids and for my family. Don't think for a moment that pretending to be some big tough alpha dog, that's toxic, bro. Like, straight up, if you're a man watching this and you have that mentality, you got to go get some help, because that's not how a man should behave. That's how somebody who is hurt and damaged and afraid behaves.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's the same for women too, though. A lot of times we think, oh, well, we're not going to burden him with the emotional side because he's bringing home money, or he's providing, or he's doing this thing that is supposedly manly, right? And oh, men don't cry, so like of course he's more shut off, oh, well, he's acting sus, but like I'm not going to say anything about it because he's still providing.
Right.
And what ends up happening is you're not acknowledging your own feelings, your own emotions, and your own emotional needs. And so it builds resentment. And instead of building resentment, why wouldn't you want to build communication? It's an ongoing battle every single day within yourself to trust yourself and trust your own decision making. I chose to be with someone who can communicate. I chose to be with someone who is willing to listen to me. So why wouldn't I use that tool? If you are intentionally choosing someone who's shut down emotionally because you want to be strong, independent on your own, bringing home, etc., he's bringing home, etc., and it's for convenience, be honest about that. Don't expect him to be romantic when you decided that you wanted to be with somebody who is a workaholic. Understand the contract you're getting into when you enter the relationship. I wanted safety, I wanted security, I wanted love, and I wanted acceptance. And to do that, I offered the same. He was looking for the same thing I was.
Yep.
And I was able to provide what I needed to him, and he's able to provide what I need to me. And then he is also looking for the same things that I need. And because I know how to meet my own needs, then I can help meet his. And because he knows how to meet his own needs, he can help meet mine.
Yep.
It's both of us were looking for the same needs to be met outside of ourselves. It just is what it is. And co-regulation's a thing, so.
Yes, it is. Co-regulation as well as self-regulation. There's times where I absolutely...
You can't do it on YouTube either. Just stop it.
There's times where I absolutely need, somebody to talk to, or need to have, little touchy-feely with co-regulation. And then there's also times where I'm going to this side of the room for a while because I need some space to clear out what the fuck's going on in my head. Prime example of this.
That's my go-to.
3 days ago, right? I was triggered as shit. I woke up, no reason why at all. Woke up just pissed off. And then halfway through the day, it went from that pissed off feeling to now I am severely fucking depressed. Just sad for no fucking reason. And instead of needing to co-regulate and cuddle up with her and like, hey, I need a hug, or I need to talk, or I'd like to just sit with you, I was like, I'm going to sit over here. I'm going to do some shit. You don't need to be around me right now. I don't need to be around you. It's not that I don't love you or don't care about you or don't want to talk to you about what's going on, but I need to process what I'm feeling right now, so I'm aware of what I'm feeling. It was
almost a whole day. We barely talked.
Yeah.
He just said, literally, he texted me. He was like, I love you, but please leave me the fuck alone. Like, that's not exactly what the text said, but it was essentially, like, if you were to dumb it down, that's basically it. Yeah. And I was like, okay. So I did what I do. I sat by myself. I did my thing. I'm good by myself. He's good by himself. We chilling. We in the same space, but we are not interacting. Yep. And it took until like 5 p.m. that night where he just looked at me. He was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready now to interact with you. Are you ready? And I was like, sure. That's fine. Yeah. But it took getting there because, yeah, you said it was because of PTSD nightmares and stuff.
Yeah.
But
I had some pretty fucked up PTSD nightmares, and when I woke up, I was angry, and I knew I was angry, and I didn't know why I was angry, and I knew that if I had tried to talk to you in that moment and tried to communicate with you in that moment of what I needed, that I would have lost my shit because of how, like, for no reason frustrated I was.
Yeah.
And so I made a conscious decision, knowing myself enough to separate myself from that from happening so it didn't happen, which gave me the space that I needed to really kind of self-regulate that and kind of discover what it was that was causing me to be irritated. And then the sadness side hit, and the sadness side kind of, I know it triggered it. You out. I know it triggered it. It was, I was mad at you. I woke up mad at you for no fucking reason.
Because in my dream, I was kidnapped and in your dream, I was kidnapped and brainwashed, and you thought that was possible. And then when you explained it to me, I'm like, me? Brainwashed? Like, my mom tried and failed.
Yeah.
The troubled teen industry tried and failed. Yeah, I was brainwashed, definitely.
And these are the things that, you know, counseling gives you tools for. If you haven't had counseling as a man and you wake up with these types of thoughts, or a woman, if you're a human being, you know, there's things that happen to us that trigger emotions and thoughts, and sometimes those thoughts and emotions are not from a place of anything that's reality. And if you don't have the tools to regulate, and you don't have the tools and the wherewithal to recognize those things within yourself, it can be dangerous. It can be explosive for you and your partner, or if your kids are around, it can be dangerous for them too. So to be the best version of yourself that you can be means that you're going to be a good parent.
The other side of that too is if your partner is saying, I need this space, like I want to be in the same space as you, but I don't want to talk, I don't want to communicate, believe them, because they're using a tool. Yeah. They're using a tool that they have, whatever that is. You could have done something and not even known you did something. You could have done nothing. You could have been kidnapped in his dream. Shit. Listen, like, there's so many things. And if your partner is using a tool to regulate themselves, believe them and allow them that space, because they are a grown adult and you are a grown adult. And this, like, if you're so codependent that you have to be attached at the hip, there's a problem.
Yeah.
There's a problem, because one, you're a grown fucking adult. What the fuck are you doing? But also, he's a grown adult with coping skills and therapy under his belt. He knows what he's doing and why he's doing it. And I don't need to be so controlling as to know everything that's going on exactly at that moment, because I trust him to care for himself. I trust me to care for myself. I would say he trusts me to care for myself if I need to. It's a baseline of trust. I trust you to communicate what you need. I need space. The why is not inherently important in that moment, ever.
Yep.
I need space. It's that dry. It's cut and dry. I need space. Now, could I explain it to him? Yeah. Do I think he's going to spiral if I don't? No. No. Because if I'm saying I need space, I want to do this thing, or as simple as I'm going to go live, I don't want to take my frustration out on you.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. I'm going to go live. I don't want to take my frustration out on you. You can either sit with me and laugh with me, or you can walk the fuck away. I'm going to be over here in my little corner. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, okay, I'm going to sit and laugh with you. Or, yeah, I'm going to go do this other thing over here. It's communication. And I have to give the same respect that I expect.
Yep. Well, it's like, I took that space, and it literally was about 4:45, 5 o'clock by the time I was ready to actually
talk
to you about what I was actually feeling, what I was going through, other than the text message I sent you. Mind you, the text message I sent went something along the lines of, hey, I don't know what's going on with me, but I woke up angry at you, and angry for no reason. I don't want to be angry with you. It's not fair to you. And I'm also having some emotions of overwhelming sorrow, and I need to just process this alone.
Basically, it was, leave me the fuck alone. I'm going through shit. Like, okay. Yeah. I think I asked you once, like, hey, do you want food or something? And you just shook your head, and I was like, all right. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to press it. I'm making food. Do you want something? No? Cool. Yeah.
But you can feed yourself. When I was ready to talk, and I was ready to, you know, come back and have the conversation with her and let her know what was going on, we were able to have that conversation without it being a tough one, without it being emotionally dysregulated or it being knee-jerk reaction. She listened to what I had to say, and then she gave me advice on stuff from her perspective. And then I laughed. And then she laughed a lot. And then vice versa. We had a conversation. She heard what I had to say and took some of my advice on these things, and we had a good conversation. And it's one of the things I really am enjoying about this relationship with you is it's so easy to actually communicate with you without the feeling of, holy shit, if I say something, am I going to get fucking chastised for it? Or vice versa. I need to defend myself.
Yeah, because it's not an attack. It's working together. Yeah. Like for me, if the communication ends up being so volatile that I don't feel that I can communicate, I start making an exit plan. Yeah. And that is how it is. I have always been that way. And once I'm gone, I'm gone. Yeah. You have until I walk out that door and say deuces, and then I'm gone. If you don't pick up on the fact that my shit's getting packed, that I am sitting here saying, like, will you please talk to me? I need 5 minutes. This hurts. I'm crying too hard to understand you at all.
Yeah.
I need 5 minutes to calm down. If those basic needs aren't being met, I'm fucking gone.
Yeah.
You tell me to leave, I'm going to look at you and be like, okay.
Where I'm very much so,
Bye.
my things that are, I'll peace out, is I am who I am. I love who I am. If you don't want me for me and you don't accept the things of who I am and you try to change me or try to put your own traumas on me as if it's my responsibility because of the things I've been through and the types of relationships I've been through, I have a boundary there. And for me, that's a hard stop in the relationship. Like, there is no, I'm going to slowly pack up and give you signs. I'm just like, hey, that's not the reality of what I am. I'm not comfortable with that. I understand where you're at, but maybe we need to look at this more from your side and find out what's going on with you that makes you think that this is me when it's not, and have that conversation. And if it continues to persist of push, this is you and your problem that you need to do and you need to change yourself, that's when I go, okay,
but
cut my losses.
That's a lot of what happens when you're unhealed and scared, right? Is, oh, well, you're doing this. But I'm not accusing in these conversations. I'm asking, hey, where is this behavior coming from? What is the intention behind this? Is it coming from a place of love? Is it coming from a place of concern, a place of fear? And you do the same thing for me. Hey, you're like really bleeding on people today. What the fuck?
You fucking
Where's that coming from? Yeah, you prickly pear. Like, where is this coming from? Why are you acting this way, right? And I'm just like, I'm in pain. A lot of times it's physical pain. And I'm lashing out because I'm in so much pain and I can't express it.
Yeah.
And for you, it's typically emotional pain. Yeah. And sometimes you know where it's coming from and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
But the questions, you're like, I need time to answer that. Can I get back to you? Yeah. I'm going to go do my own thing until you stop doing that because I don't like it. You're like, oh, you're prickly? let me just get more prickles. And I'm like, listen, I'm in pain. Like, that's all.
So it's because one of my love languages is when somebody I know is in a place of uncomfortability, I like to try to make them laugh or try to cheer them up. And those little, like she just pinched me, right? She just pinched me. So she's prickly and she's like, ugh, like, and jerks away from me. I'll go like
I'm going to have a bruise there from how much you do that.
Right. And it's not meant to be malicious or irritated or anything like that. It's just me trying to be like, hey, it's okay. I'm right here. You're being prickly. I love you and I can be prickly right back. Pokety poke. But yeah, at the same time, I recognize, like, if she's having a hard time with something, like, I'll step back a little bit and kind of watch what she's doing and keep an eye on how her body language and stuff like that. And, you know, I'll wait until she's like really at that point of ready to talk about if she's uncomfortable. And I'm like, hey, how are you feeling? And she's like, you know how I feel. I'm like, no, how are you feeling? And she's like, I feel like shit. I'm like, what can I do for you?
Usually it's, can I have some tea or can I have some coffee?
Yeah.
Or my knee is completely locked up and I can't walk and I've had to pee for the last 10 minutes and I just want to, like, not be here right now. Can you fix it? And he can fix it most of the time.
Yeah.
But I'm usually going to scream and almost pee myself first.
Oh, you have to pee? Why don't you go pee then? And then she sits there and goes, I'm not going to.
You told me to and now I can't.
Well, in her mind, I'm telling her to, but really, I'm asking her, like, sensibly, if you have to pee, why don't you go?
Because my body told me to. Now you're telling me to. Now I absolutely cannot, will not know.
Yeah, see, that's the brattiness.
Just a little. But yeah, okay, guys, we're derailing. We're derailing into silly zone. So we're gonna end it.
Thanks for coming by and